Hello everyone, it's Riv, and today I'm going to be doing the first part of all of the books in my collection. I wasn't gonna do this, but just because I thought it was boring, but then I was like, it's my channel. I don't really do this just for other people. I do this, for myself. So if I want to talk about all the books I have, then I will do that. Um, I have most of these categorized into different categories. Starting with my ancient books, and then I'm moving on to Shakespeare, and then religious fiction, and then depression. That's just what the category is called. If I have time, I'll probably go over my Dostoevsky books, but if I don't, then I'll just save it for a different time. I also want to say I haven't read most of these because I just haven't gotten around to it. And it's reading is a struggle for me, just staying focused. Um, I will read them all eventually, but that's an eventually problem. So starting off, I have the my ancient books. The first one is, I think this is the Oresteia by, I don't know how to pronounce that name. He was the guy who was a playwright. But if you know anything about like stupid deaths, he was a guy who got a tortoise dropped on him from a hawk or something, because he was bald, so the bird thought he was a rock and was gonna crack open the tortoise. But it was not a rock, it was the man, and he ended up dying of his injuries. So that's who this guy is. Um I bought it because I thought it was funny because I recognized the name from the death, and I was like, oh yeah, let me read that. um, and then the next book I have is the Aeneid, or the Aeneid, I don't know how you pronounce it, by Virgil. I got this book because I'm a big fan of the Divine Comedy, and if you know anything about it, Virgil is like the guide to Dante um, through the Inferno and Purgatorio. So I saw this in the bookshop I go to a lot, and it's very cheap. The classics in the bookstore I go to are incredibly cheap. The first one was $3, and this one is $1.50. So very cheap books, which is the reason why I have all of these, because most of these I got from that store. Um, and then after that I have Homer's The Odyssey. Um, I ignored the cover because this was the only one I could find, and this book was actually $2.50. I have not read this one. I actually haven't read either of these two either, but I'm getting around to it, I promise. And then the next one I have is Beowulf, and this one I actually have read. This one was only $5. I read this for English class, and I decided to get it because I'm a huge fan. If you've watched my channel, I'm a huge fan of like how language has developed. And Beowulf is it's a big example for Old English. Because it's one of the remaining ones. That actually it shows what Old English used to look like. Because this side is Old English. This side is regular or modern English. Um, so yeah, this one is a big one when it comes to just how languages have changed, or how English has changed over the years. Um, and then the last one I have in this category is The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer. This one is another one I've read for English class, and it's another big one for English like development, like because this was written in, I believe, the 13th century, I think. I don't know off the top of my head, but this was written in originally in Middle English, which is closer to modern English than Old English, but some of it is so hard to understand. But this is written in just regular English. And another thing I like about this book is that it's actually pretty progressive for its time, especially like in The Wife of Bath's Tale, where it goes over or follows a knight who assaulted a woman, and he was forced to walk around the earth. Well, he didn't have to walk around the earth, but he did for a year and a day to find what women really want. And what he ended up finding, which was the answer, was that women want sovereignty, control over the marriage. And for this book to be written in again in the Middle Ages and by a man, that's pretty progressive. Um, so moving on to the next category I have, which is Shakespeare, and I have quite a bit of Shakespeare. Okay, this is gonna be embarrassing, but I actually got into Shakespeare because of David Tennant, who was in Good Omens and Doctor Who and all that. Um, because I saw that he was in some Shakespeare plays, and I wanted to read the books so I could actually understand, because all of the plays he does are in Shakespearean English, which is actually, that's not Old English. It's called Early Modern English. Old English is like Beowulf. Um, anyway, I wanted to get this book, get the books from the plays he has, and it just sort of spiraled, basically. Um, but the first play I have is Titus Andronicus. This one I got because my English 4 teacher recommended it to me. Um, and he said the reason I got it was because he said it was the Shakespeare play with the highest blood count or body count, and I love that. So that's what I got it, and because my English 4 teacher also said it was one of his favorites. And my English 4 teacher was one of my favorite teachers ever. So I have not read this one yet, but I'll get around to it. The next one I have is Much Ado About Nothing. This one I got because of David Tennant, and I started reading it, and then it just sort of like, I got distracted by other things, so I never finished it, but I'll get back to it. And then this play, Richard II, I would, I could, I don't know how to like explain it, because when I first read it, it was like literally nothing happened, and then all of a sudden, Richard went crazy and killed somebody, and then he just died. Like, that's like, I don't know if I just didn't read it right or if that's just what happened, but it was a whole lot of nothing. And then, well, there like some stuff happened in the beginning, but then after that, he just went crazy, killed a guy, and then died. Like, that's that's just what happened. Um, the next book I have is The Twelfth Night. I haven't read this one. Um, I got this. I really only got this because it was in a class set in the bookstore I go to all the time, and again, it's really cheap. It was literally $3.50. So, um, yeah, it was. I haven't read it, but I'll get around to it. And then after this, I have Richard the Third, and it fell. Richard the Third. I got this one because of Richard the Second, and it was really the only one of the only ones in the classic section, specifically the Shakespeare section, that I hadn't read yet. So, um, yeah, that's the only reason I got it, because I haven't read it and because I read Richard II. And then after this, we have Othello. I have not read this one. I got it because a friend recommended it to me. Um, this one, this one is Old English, or Old English, Shakespeare English, Early Modern English, and Modern English, which I enjoy actually. I will say this: I definitely like it when especially Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is so covered in schools, but when it has the Shakespearean English and the modern English, because you can bounce back and forth, and you can actually understand what's going on. Because I would not have liked some, or actually a lot of the books I like, especially Shakespeare, if I didn't have the modern English translation. Because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I know everything about early modern English, because it's not the English that we speak. Um, but yeah, I actually do enjoy when they have both early modern English and modern English. And then the last book I have is Hamlet, which is actually it's my favorite Shakespeare play. And this one I also got because of David Tennant. Again, are we surprised? He's my number one celebrity crush. So yeah, but yeah, I got Hamlet, and I read it, and I was like, especially at the end when he's like about to die, and Horatio is just chilling with him. Um, I watched the David Tennant version, and it was so gay. I could not take it. But yeah, I really enjoyed reading this, and I would definitely read it again. Um, and then the next category I have is religious fiction. I only have two books in this category, and I have read both of them. And the first one is The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. First of all, I just love the aesthetics of this book so much. I think this is the one that my English 4 teacher has. But and like look at this. Oh my god, I love it so much. This scene is from The Seventh Layer for the people who have commit suicide. And it's supposed to be like, if you didn't love the body that God gave you, or you threw it away, then you shouldn't be able to have your body in hell. Um or your soul shouldn't be that body that you had when you were alive. And this book is my absolute favorite piece of literature, basically. I got into this because of Wendigoon. I watched his videos about it, and I was completely enamored. It was the Inferno, which is what most people are introduced to the Divine Comedy with. Um, and then I read Purgatorio and then Paradiso, and I was just I almost cried, especially because I'm Catholic. I was like, dear Lord, this is gonna kill me. Um, and then moving on, the next one I have, which also made me cry, was Paradise Lost. This is a hefty boy, but that's mainly because if you look in the book, only this part is like the poem, and this part is like footnotes and context, which I enjoy, but you also have this much room of just nothing, and I feel like we could have definitely made that smaller because it's hard to put it on my shelf. Um, so that's it for the religious fiction, and now we just have depression. I don't only there's only 4 books in this category. But then it's immediately followed by Dostoevsky, which I feel like fits well within this category. But I have Dostoevsky in his own category because I have so many of his books. But the first one in depression is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Um, I haven't read it fully, but I watched a video going over it, and this was another Wendigoon one that I watched. Um, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was interesting. I just haven't actually started reading it. And then the next one is The Yellow Wallpaper. This one I have read because it's literally 29 pages. Um, I kind of I wouldn't say I didn't like it. It's just it left me staring, wondering what the hell I just read because I was just so confused. But it's okay because it's a classic. So that means it's perfect, right? um, but then after that we have Osamu. That's just the name of it. No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. Or Dazai Osamu. Um, mm, yeah. I didn't read the book. I listened to the audiobook. And I decided to get the physical copy because I always like to have the physical copy. This one again is a book that I feel like could be a lot smaller because there's just so much nothing up top and on the sides and on the bottom. Um, but I really enjoyed this book. After I finished listening to the audiobook, I was just sort of like wondering what I just read, but it wasn't like the old wallpaper where I was like not enjoying it. I was just confused. No, I wasn't confused. I was just depressed, which I guess it did what it was supposed to. Um, and then the last book I have is The Naked and the Dead, by where is it? Norman Mailer? Mailer, I think. I read like 100 pages into this book, but it is a kind of a hard read because it doesn't give a lot of like it's not easy to decipher who's speaking or what's exactly happening. Um, but I didn't end up finishing it. Like I said, it's okay. I probably wouldn't finish it, but that's just sort of how a cookie crumbles sometimes. I think I do have enough time because. Oh, wait, hold on, let me see. 6. Yeah, I have enough time. It's only. No, well, this is my biggest category so far. Anyway, most of these books I actually got in a set on Amazon for like $30, which is insanely cheap because there's 6 books, and then I just got this one by itself. And this book I have is White Knights. I haven't read this. I haven't actually read any of these yet, but I will. I promise I'll get around to it. Um, Again, it's a small read. I might read this one for my February book of the month because it's literally only 66 pages. So, yeah, this is probably going to be my February book of the month. And afterwards, I have all of these. This was all in one set. The first one is Crime and Punishment because of course it is. It's the big one. Oh, I just realized it was an Orthodox cross. Yeah, I was gonna read this one, and then we have The House of the Dead and the Gambler. I really like this cover art. Again, these books are so like such good quality for literally being like how much would that be? Like five? Yeah, $5 each. Yeah, exactly. $5 for each book. It's great quality, and it's just I was gonna read this one. I did read a few pages, but I guess I just got distracted. And then the next one I have is The Idiot. Um, I started listening to the audiobook, but for me, if I put something down, it's hard for me to pick it back up again, even if even if I was like really into it. But I don't know why. That's just how I am sometimes. And then after this we have Devils. Nope, my camera stopped working. Hello, thank you. And next we have Devils. Says I was just reading the back. Yeah, that's about what I expected for Dostoevsky. And then we have the Karamazov Brothers, which I had another copy of this and I was starting to read it. Um, but then I think after the first brother, I just sort of gave it up. And then when I bought this set, I gave this one is like a little bit fucked up in the bottom, but it was like that when I got in there or when I got here. And then I gave my other copy to a friend of mine, and he really enjoyed it. So we have a pretty similar taste, so I'm assuming I'll like it. And then the last one we have for this video is going to be Notes from the Underground. It looks interesting, but it's a comprehension of his short stories. So, oh, I could no. Anyway, sorry, ADHD moment. Yeah, but that's it for today. I have to put all of these back into my shelf and try and hope and pray that they're gonna be in the exact same order I put them in, which they're not going to be. But you know what? That's okay. I will reorganize them another day. But that's it. I hope you enjoyed. I'll post a part 2 eventually. So yeah, bye bye.